Lots of close games this morning. Let's go with Ravens Cowboys. Dallas knows they needed a must-win game, and the Ravens wanted to win just to try to stay on top of the AFC North and maybe fight for home field advantage for the entire AFC. Let's start with anyway. Let's start with the early part of the game. I thought they were both getting a feel for each other, and the Ravens got out quickly, but they only got a field goal, so it was 3-0. And then the Ravens, the problem with their defense last week is that they couldn't really stop the run, even if they were expecting it. Today, Felix Jones starts out with a 22-yard touchdown run, which made it 7-3. And then the Ravens couldn't get anything going on offense. The Cowboys got it back, made it 10-3. And we thought, okay, maybe the Ravens are in trouble. But then Joe Flacco went back to work with a quick touchdown drive, which ended on a Ray Rice 1-yard touchdown. And then 2-minute warning came around, and then Joe Flacco delivers a nice pass to Torrey Smith to make it 17-10. And then we go in the third quarter, and then the Cowboys were able to get a field goal. But then following that, the newcomer Jacoby Jones gets a huge 108-yard kickoff return, makes it 24-13, the former Texan. And what's odd about that is the Ravens face the Texans next week, but I'll get to that later. Then the Cowboys would get a long drive going, which ended on a Dez Bryant 7-yard touchdown. You'll be hearing his name a lot, 24-20. And then we go to the fourth quarter. Dallas was able to hold their defense was standing their ground. And then they were able to deliver the ball, but they would only get a field goal, making it 24-23 with 8:22 left. And then the Ravens were able to drive down the field with the attack of the workhorse Ray Rice, making it down the field, ended it with a 1-yard touchdown, making it 31-23. And then Dallas, with not much time to go, called a questionable penalty on Felix Jones. I did not agree with this, but it still didn't stop Dallas from going down the field. They were able to get all the way and then touchdown pass to Dez Bryant to make it 31-29, but they missed the 2-point conversion with the same idea. But then they get the onside kick recovered by the kicker, and then Dallas was able to get down the field thanks to a pass interference penalty on Baltimore, which sets up for a 51-yarder, and it just glided to the left. And so the Cowboys miss their chance, and they lose 31-29, despite a great effort by the Cowboys. This is probably you couldn't play any better than that. But the Ravens, they still got some questions on defense this year. In my opinion, I know Suggs is coming back next week, or at least that's what I'm hearing. So that will help. But I still feel like they have a lot of questions on defense. Give a lot of credit to the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Romo played a hell of a game, but I think just wasn't meant to be. And Dallas is 2-3 now, and they got the Carolina Panthers next week on the road. So you got to think about that. So they got to go on the road, take on the Panthers next week. And the Baltimore Ravens, they have a huge matchup against the Texans of Houston. This is a potential AFC title, or this was a rematch of the divisional playoffs from last year, except this time Matt Schaub is there. So this will be very, very interesting to see, and the game's at Houston, so we got to get to that. Now let's go on to Atlanta, one of the only undefeated teams in the league, taking on the Oakland Raiders. You thought it'd be a squash game, right, considering how bad the Raiders have played? Well, lo and behold, the Raiders came to play today, as Matt Ryan would throw 2 early picks in the first quarter. Raiders only capitalized on the field goal by Janikowski, which went 52 yards. But Matt Ryan was finally able to get something going with a touchdown to Roddy White, 7-3. But then the Raiders would get a field goal on the following drive, and then Matt Ryan gets crushed as he throws a ball in the air, wide open pick, and it sets up for a Denarius Moore 25-yard touchdown catch from Palmer, making it 13-7 at the half. Now, the third quarter, the Falcons got some substantial drives, which ended in 2 field goals to tie the game. And then the fourth quarter, near the end of the game, Carson Palmer with a 79-yard pick six thrown to Asante Samuel, making it 20-13. But that did not stop the Raiders from trying to make a comeback, throwing all the way down the field, the drive ending on a 2-yard touchdown run by Darren McFadden, 20-20. The Raiders knew that their season's on line. Now it will come down to the defense. Play decently well. A hard field goal for Matt Bryant. It was a 55-yarder, but the kick is up, and it's good. The Falcons win it. It was a tough win. These wins are getting tougher and tougher for Atlanta. Oakland was playing pretty much for the season, but the Raiders would come up just short despite a great effort from Palmer. He threw 353 yards, only one touchdown, but he still had a lot of yards. And Matt Ryan struggled in 3 picks. But in spite of all of it, the Falcons survived the Raiders 23-20, and they are now getting rewarded with a bye week next week with their 6-0 start as they get ready for the Eagles on week 8. That will be a tough game. The Oakland Raiders, tough loss for them, but they're at home against the Jaguars next week, so a potential good opportunity for their second win of the season, as they're the only AFC West team to play next week. Now let's go on to another big story of the day: the Cleveland Browns, one of the only winless team in the league as of start of this week, started bad after Andy Dalton would throw a 55-yard touchdown pass to Dren Gresham, and he just shoved the Browns out of the way. And then Brandon Weeden would eventually capitalize in early second quarter on the laser pass of Josh Gordon, making it 7-7. But then the Bengals near the end of the first half would throw a touchdown pass to AJ Green, making it 14-7. So the Browns, the third quarter, as most Cleveland fans would call Phil Dawson their MVP, he kicked 2 key field goals in the third, making it 14-13. A turnover occurred as Andy Dalton would throw one of his 3 picks in the third quarter. And then we go to the fourth quarter as the Browns would take the lead behind a 1-yard run from Montario Hardesty. And then the Bengals would only follow that up with a field goal, making it 2017 Browns. And then Weeden was able to drive down the field again with finish with a touchdown pass to Watson, making it 27-17. And then Andy Dalton would mess it up again as he throws a pick six to Sheldon Brown, making it 34-17. And then the following drive, Bengals throw a deep pass, 57 yards to AJ Green, making it 34-24 to have some kind of chance. But the Browns would hold on to win this one on a count of 34-24. They finally pick up a win. It was a good effort defensively for the most part and offensively. It was just it's a feel good moment for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, they've been through a lot, and it was great to get a win. And they broke their long division losing streak at 12 as with this win over the Bengals of Cincinnati. The Bengals now 2 straight losses to 2 less superior teams, in my opinion. They are now looking at a home game next Sunday night against the Steelers, who are also struggling. So this game is going to be really huge next week for the Bengals, or really for both teams. The Bengals Steelers, I think next week, I don't want to say it is the season, but it's going to be a big part of who goes where and why. But as for the Browns, I think I said who they're facing next week. Or no, I didn't. They're facing the Colts at Indianapolis. Now let's go to the Colts Jets. You think Andrew Luck and the Colts would come with some high momentum, but no, they got drilled, and it did not look good at all for the whole game, as well, except the first quarter, which started with a 20-yard field goal by Adam Vinatieri. But then the second quarter is when it all fell apart, as the Jets would start going to work with the Sanchez touchdown pass to Stephen Hill, making it 7-3, and then Andrew Luck would throw a pick to Antonio Cromartie, almost called for a pick six, but they decided not to go with it. And the drive would end on a Sean Green 10-yard touchdown, 14-3. The Colts would only follow that up with a 50-yarder from Vinatieri, making it 14-6. And then 2-minute warning as Mark Sanchez finds the other Hill, Jason Hill, for a 21-6 lead. And in the third quarter, it didn't start much better for any team until the late third quarter, where Jets were able to drive down the field. Sean Green gets a 4-yard touchdown, making it 28-6. And the Colts would only follow that up with a field goal, making it 28-9. And then Sean Green would pick up his second touchdown of the second half. And it closed down the Colts 35-9. And Tebow's only pass came on a nice fake punt that went for 23 yards, which set up that last touchdown in the second quarter. But this was a must-win for the Jets. And the Jets won 35-9. They needed this win because They didn't want to go 0-3 in this homestand, especially when they're facing the Patriots next week on the road. This was everything for the Jets today, and they gave it and they played a fundamentally sound game. And I don't know if this is a turning point for the Jets, but what time will only tell. They got the Patriots next week. Let's go to the Lions and the Eagles. It started out pretty good for the Lions. They jumped out to a 6-0 lead by the end of the first, but then Vic would drive down the field, which ended on a 2-yard touchdown pass to LaShawn McCoy, making it 7-6 at recess. And then we go to the third quarter. Not much offense from the Lions, but the Eagles were able to get some drives going for 2 field goals, making it 13-6. But the fourth quarter is where the game really began, because after another field goal for Henry, making it 16-6, then the Lions were starting to get drives going. It ended on a 1-yard run by Matt Stafford, making it 16-13. But then the Eagles capitalized, say, you ain't coming back, and made a 70-yard touchdown pass, making it 23-13. But then the Lions would get a quick drive going, making it 23-20, so the game is not over yet, as Vic would struggle to get anything going on the following drive, which ended on the Lions failing to score at the Eagles 1-yard line, which settled for a field goal to make it 23-23. We're going to overtime. Eagles had a drive, but they were up at a huge sack by Van Bosch and Fairley combined, set up for 3rd and 37, and they didn't have much of a chance after that. And it set up for a Lions game winner by the oldest player in the NFL, Jason Hanson. And the Lions shocked the Eagles 26-23. Huge. This was a much needed win for the Lions. They were falling, a team that had some expectations and haven't really met them all season. But the Lions, they pull through, and they have the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football next week. Meanwhile, for the Eagles, you could say this was a bad loss for the Eagles heading into the bye at only 3-3 in a tough NFC East. But it's the little things they gotta fix, and they got to fix some kinks, because they're not exactly a complete team right now at 3-3, and the 3 wins they had, they came out a combined 4 points. Two of those wins were by 1 point, and the other one was by 2 on a missed field goal. So the Eagles got to fix some things during the bye week, as they get to get ready for a home game against the Falcons week 8. Now let's go to the Chiefs Buccaneers. It started out ugly. It started out with a pick Freeman threw to Justin Houston, which went about the Chiefs 45, but the Chiefs would only capitalize. Brady Quinn would throw a pick. And then it set up for a Mike Williams 62-yard touchdown pass from Josh Freeman, making it 7-0. The rest of the half ended on a Chiefs field goal, making it 7-3. And then the Bucs just came out firing the second half, starting with a Freeman touchdown to Vincent Jackson, and then a ridiculous interception by Rondé Barber, as it didn't quite touch the ground, but Barber had just enough hand on it to scoop it up before it touched the ground, and went for a 78-yard pick six. And that's what really opened up the game. It was 21-3. Chiefs had a little glimmer of hope on a block punt, which went for 21-10, but they just didn't get anything going the rest of the game, as the Bucs would finish off with 17 unanswered, making the final count 38-10. I don't want to. I think that you can almost say you put the fork in the Chiefs season, as it is probably over now. I don't, and it's a shame too, with as much talent as they have, and it's going to waste. And you can't really explain it, really. I mean, because Quinn didn't really play bad today. It's just, you can't explain it from bad offensive play calling, from defense inconsistency. I don't know what it is, and I can't quite put a finger on it. So, I mean, the Chiefs have a lot to fix during this bye week before their Week 8 game against the Oakland Raiders. Meanwhile, for the Bucs, they got a home game against the Saints next week, and that's going to really be everything for the Bucs to stay alive in the playoff hunt. So they got to be ready for that. Now let's go to the only game I haven't got to yet, the Dolphins and the Rams. Very low scoring affair. Started out with 2 field goals by Zerline in the first, but then the Dolphins would score 10 unanswered in the second half. Started out with a Marlon Moore 29-yard catch from Tannehill, making it 7-6, and then Also, a quick turnover which resulted, or no, was it a turnover? Yeah, it was a fumble loss by Miller, which set up for a field goal for Carpenter into the half, and then the Dolphins would get a touchdown for Fasano in the third quarter. Bradford would get a touchdown in the fourth, and Steven Jackson would catch a pass for a 2-point conversion, make it 17-14. But they couldn't get anything going as the Dolphins defense holds strong as they pick up their second win in a row, 17-14 over the Rams. Dolphins are getting better every week. The Rams, however, still can't win on the road. The Dolphins play the Jets on the road next week, and the Rams have a tough one at home against the Packers. That is all for my noon recap. Be sure to come back for my afternoon recaps. I'm out.